Stuart, I have a question. When I'm focusing on my hara, is it supposed to be on the surface of my skin or inside my body, in the middle?
It's inside the body.
Mhm.
You know, it's not on the surface, it's really inside the body. I mean, it's an esoteric, thing, but a very real one when one begins to learn how to focus there and use it. I mean, it's something, as I say all the time, essential if there's going to be grounding in you. So it's not going to be on the surface of your body. It'll be right at the core of your being inside. And then it'll expand. It doesn't abide by the limitations of the body. The chakra can open as much as you allow it to open. So you have to go to the very core of your being inside, And again, it's not, something tangible. It's not something you can touch. Or chakras are intangible. I mean, Rudy always called them psychic muscles. That if you don't, work them and use them, they atrophy. Like anything else that's not used in life, it atrophies. So one needs to get focused right at the core, right inside, and then this place will open and provide every kind of foundation and balance and strength that a human being needs to not only have a spiritual life, but to be able to live consciously in the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question?
You are talking about reincarnation that sometimes this really touching my soul, and not many people talk about that ways. So you think that so many people on earth at this time, do you think that people want to experience on life for this, especially this time, this something very not easy life, do you think that purposeful, that's why they are born?
Tsuko, there's no such thing as an easy life. I told somebody today, that I've never met an easy person in my life. I've met people that are very charming and charismatic, and as soon as you get into their space, you find, that they're not terribly easy people. And nobody chooses to have a difficult life. We're born sweet little innocent babies, full of love, full of openness. Our greatest job is to just, be nursed by our mothers, I mean, we're born that way. And yet the society, the world conditions people to lose all of that innocence and all of that love. And, as I said earlier today in another class, it's like the Bible, it's like stepping out of the Garden of Eden from total innocence to the rest of the Bible, which is wars and difficulties and problems, ultimately to reach a place where we, arrive at this thing called Messiah. To me, Messiah is simply spiritual enlightenment. And we need all the turmoil, we need the difficulty, we need it to remind us of why, what we were really born here for. And that is to transform all that stuff, to learn how to take the suffering of life, and transform it into a spiritual life. It's like my teacher Rudy once said, he said, either you suffer like a schmuck or you suffer consciously. If you suffer consciously, you're transforming the difficulties, the sufferings of life into a spiritual life. And that basically, I don't know of anybody that has an easy life. I've never met anyone who has an easy life. And people that are, look, in my old business that I was in, I met tons of rich people. I mean, I had to, because that's who I used to have to sell things to. And I never met one of them that had an easy life. I mean, we have this delusion that we think that money provides an easy life. Trust me, it doesn't. I mean, life, no matter, I mean, suffering is like the perfect democracy. Everybody goes through it. And the difference is you learn how to transform it into a spiritual life. You learn through meditation or whatever practice you do, how to transform the difficulties of life into a spiritual life. You can't escape them. So you might as well learn how to transform them. And then there's reincarnation, for those that, make God into money and make God into power and make God into neurosis and anxiety and worship at the feet of all this insanity. You understand? There's reincarnation. You come back, keep beating your head against the wall until you finally discover, where the real answer is. And that's always deep inside oneself. Very deep inside oneself, because there's no limit to how deep you can go. There's no limit to the energy, of infinite energy in the universe. And when you start tapping that energy and getting a hunger for that energy, all these blocks and tensions inside get transformed. We begin to learn how to use them to grow instead of using them as a way of just complaining about everything. I'm this, I'm that, I can't, I have no money, I have no this, no, it's all bullshit, If you turn that energy around inside, you discover that everything in life is energy, and you can have success and money and this and that. And if you're having a spiritual life, it doesn't interfere. Just another thing to learn how to transform. That's why I don't listen to people's complaints anymore. I'm not interested, Do your inner work, grow, change. You will change, you will grow. You will learn how to do things that you never dreamed you could do. But it takes that kind of work that a human being has to do in order to attain this state of consciousness. And then there's reincarnation. We have thousands of lifetimes to finally learn how to become happy.
So amazing. Think about amazing.
Well, it's true. I'll say it again. There's thousands of lifetimes just to learn how to become happy.
My God. Amazing.
I mean, God gives us that, I told you once I had a conversation with God, and I said, look, I can do my work. I said, I can change me. I can change people that come and want to learn what I have to give. I can't fix this world. I said, that's your problem, not my problem. You created this place. And of course, there's an answer to that problem. There's reincarnation. People have many lifetimes to finally learn what's real in this world.
Earth is amazing, holding such everything. That's an amazing planet. My God, unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stuart, can you talk about spontaneous healing?
Spontaneous healing?
Yeah, I never heard you say it. It's just something that had come up, and I was curious if you have a
I don't
relationship.
know, you'll have to define, what do you mean? Like you get healed without?
Yeah, like where there's a clear transformation that happens in what seems like, in a moment where there's that level of you know,
But you know, Wendy, this happens. You read about it in Zen books. Suddenly, bingo! You know, the sound of one hand clapping. You can hear it. You know, I believe that. I also believe it takes, you know, years to build a system that you can get to the point where you hear the sound of one hand clapping. It does, it could take lifetimes of inner work, and suddenly there's a revelation and a healing, and we suddenly discover spirit and God. And it takes years of person evolving and growing and changing to arrive at that magnificent moment, which you would call spontaneous healing, you know? It's not just something that happens. It happens because people have been doing something to, it's like, when I was in the art business, I used to have wonderful Zen paintings. And there was one Zen painting they used to do, which was like a circle, or they would draw one line, and then you read about the artist and you discover that it took him 30 years of training and learning and growing in himself to be able to do a line like that. It's what I always talk about. I once went to a concert with some great pianist, who one key in the whole Carnegie Hall filled up with music. And I read about him. He spent 9 hours a day practicing the piano for 35 years of his life, and being a whole concert filled up with music. It's very Zen. But the training to become a Zen master is extraordinary. I don't know whose phone that is, but please turn it off or mute yourself. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Sorry, Stuart, I have to go back to my original question about the technique, about focusing on the hara. When you said you have to focus on your inner self, do you visualize anything when you're focusing on your inner self in the hara area?
Well, you can visualize a lotus flower opening. You can visualize there's color, there's light, you can visualize whatever works for you that gets you there. A lotus flower, look, the hara is like the base that the Buddha sits on. The base that a Buddha sits on is always a lotus flower, and you can focus on that deep inside this lotus flower opening, this Buddha base opening inside you. And then when you breathe into it, the breath is the prana, the energy, the life that expands and strengthens the hara. If something works for you in that kind of focusing, then use it. I'm not very strict about, I'm strict about being focused in the hara, but what gets you there? You have to find a way to do it.
For me, it's probably a little ball that shines inside me, like a little sun.
Then use a little bowl of chime. You can use a bowl of candy, whatever you want, if that works.
Yeah.
I look, whatever works, it's really the key to all of this. Whatever gets you centered there. I never had trouble getting my concentration focused there, because even before I knew Rudy, I knew that I had to get my mind quiet. I didn't know how to do it. When he taught me this exercise, I learned how to do it, and I never had a problem getting my attention there. And my need was so strong to get out of, to get free of my mind and all the craziness that was inside me, that I just said, okay, this is the way, and I just would do it. I would just get focused there. But if, you need something to do it, then use it. I have no problem with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sometimes you have to improvise with yourself a little bit. Man, it's good to improvise with yourself. It changes up the energy a little bit, you know? Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, I just want to remind you all that there'll be a class Sunday. Sunday is some kind of, they're changing the clocks. I think the clocks go back on Sunday. So, I mean, I know when I do classes in Europe and in the Middle East, everybody's showing up an hour late you know, because they forgot to change their clocks. So please remind yourself that the clocks will be, I think, an hour back on Sunday, you know? And we'll have class at the same time at 7:30 in the evening. And again, thank you. God bless you all. And I can't tell you, I mean, maybe you're getting sick and tired of me saying this at the end of classes. I don't know. But I can't tell you how grateful I am to sit here and do this with all of you and to truly find that, that energy of surrender, of serving, of truly transmitting spiritual energy and seeing it grow. It's like watering a garden and watching, plants grow. It's just extraordinary. And I can't be more grateful than what goes on here. And thank you. God bless you all. And I hope to see everyone on Sunday and, have a good evening. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Stuart, thank you.
Thank you.
Night.